everyone, and welcome to Brawlhalla Weekly, Episode 5. My name is partofthecreed, your host.
I'm Berthen, one of your co-hosts.
And I am Physek, your other co-host.
And today, our special guest is going to be Exo, one of the top players of Brawlhalla and considered the best player for a long time. Hailing from Norway, he's extremely well known for being a great EU player and a longtime member of Boo. But first, we're going to hop into news for the week. On the dev stream this week, we got our first reveal of the Gauntlet Legend. And so what we saw was basically a golem. He has hammers and gauntlets, which is pretty exciting. We haven't gotten a hammer legend since, I want to say, Taros, way back like a year ago.
Yeah, it's been, I think, 9 legends since we've had a new hammer legend. I've never actually seen a new hammer legend in the game, because when I started playing, the first new character I saw was Azuri. So every hammer legend that's currently in the game was there before I started.
Yeah, me too. I think I actually also was Suri, the first one I saw. Not sure though. But I know I didn't see Taros get released though.
Yeah, and it's certainly very exciting seeing more hammer legends. That's something I've seen certain community members call out BMG for. We want more hammers, and we are getting it along with the new weapon, which is going to be very exciting. We've talked about that a lot in the past few podcasts. We'll finally be getting it this week.
Oh, right, that's this week. Holy crap, I forgot. I'm so excited. I haven't been playing for a few...
very, very soon.
Oh,
no more TMs.
All right.
And so, Golem's stat balance is 6 attack, 5 dexterity, 7 defense, and 4 move speed. And, you know, this is a fairly balanced set of stats in comparison to some of the other stats that we've been seeing. None of the stats are at the extremes, 3 or 8, which I think is pretty exciting. Like, every once in a while, the community will sort of be like, oh, those stats are way too overpowered. This legend has too much attack. This legend doesn't have any defense. And so this seems like a good middle ground of, hey, it's not totally even like someone like Bodvar, but, you do mix it around a little bit.
Yeah, I think that this legend is going to be a really amazing legend. And actually, he's got a really similar stat balance to my favorite legend, Sentinel, who has the same stats except his dexterity and move speed are flipped, making him 6'4", 7'5". And honestly, I think the stats really fit the character very well. I think that for what is essentially a rock, this golem with 7 defense, 6 attack, and then kind of slower attacks and movement speed, I think that that's very fitting just for the character that he is.
Yeah, but I feel like having like a character with gauntlets have 4 speed is kind of weird, because gauntlets are more like chase down short range weapon. So yeah.
I will say,
and I don't like the less than 5 speed characters usually for me.
I do agree with you, but I also think that with chase dodge in place now, movement speed, especially for stringing weapons, ends up being a lot less important, because you can do that chase dodge to get yourself in position and cancel out of it. So I think that making use of chase dodge, much like with Katars, is going to be a big thing with the gauntlets, as opposed to really needing movement speed.
I've seen a lot of strings go together by chase dodges, especially from Katars and Spears. They do that a lot.
And I mean, if you look at a legend like Sentinel or Queen Nai, they can still pull off amazing Katar strings, but they don't have amazing movement speed, especially Queen Nai. And you can see Queen Nai's Katars being used to great effect.
True.
That is definitely true. Although, having a lot of move speed is a lot of fun. I know I'm someone who really likes high move speed legends. But of course, it is a giant rock, and that sort of does fit the theme. And I think that slow move speed characters are sort of something that the player themselves has to adjust to, and certain people are always going to want more move speed, and certain people are always going to be okay with having slower characters. And I think that Golem's going to be basically someone that certain people will adjust to more quickly than others.
I may not switch to maining Golem, but he will definitely be up there in the legends that I love playing.
So, we've been calling him Golem, but that's not actually his name. That's just sort of the placeholder. Do you guys have any ideas for, what BMG might want to name him?
I think he should be called Rock Solid.
I definitely think he should be named Dwayne in honor of The Rock.
Agree.
Dwayne the Rock. Not
Dwayne
subtle
fits
at
their-
all.
Not at
fits
all,
their
but you know
theme of-
what? I'll take it.
Yeah. And it fits their theme of like common names. All the characters just have like pretty common names, so Dwayne could fit in the theme really well.
It could, but there's also that sort of nagging of, oh, Dwayne the Rock.
Yeah.
Ah,
Okay,
BMG.
but they like doing things like that. I think they might get a kick out of that. Who knows?
Maybe. So that's Golem. We're super excited to see him this week, and we can't wait to see what players do with him. Next up, BMG released in the latest patch a new game mode. Of course, this is not going to be a game mode that goes into ranked, and they have to do a lot more playtesting to put anything in ranked nowadays, but it is something that's in the casual queue right now if you guys want to check it out. It's called Dodge Bomb, and basically, all the players start off on very small individual platforms with a bomb. There are no weapons, you can use unarmed, but basically it's just unarmed and bombs, and you have to throw the bombs at your opponents and knock everyone out. It looks like a lot of fun. It looks like a great party game. Maybe somewhere down the line they can add it in the casual online queue for people to just sort of hop into. What I sort of like about this is that people can now learn how to throw and catch bombs properly, because I know that just sort of in general play, everyone has this very mindset of, I gotta learn my weapons, but I don't see people taking the time to learn how to catch and throw nearly as much.
Yeah, and it's pretty hard too. Like you would have to go into, I don't even know. Like how would you even train it outside of that, right?
I've been told that a really good way of training is just like going into Twilight Grove and throwing it against the wall and then trying to catch it off the bounce, or just jumping way up, throwing a bomb straight down and trying to catch it on the bounce off the floor.
That's certainly difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been told that those are good ways to train it. And another good thing that you can do is actually go into training mode and turn on hitboxes. So you can try to see exactly when the bomb is going to collide with your hitbox. And right before then is pretty much when you want to be hitting the grab button to try to catch it.
I never even thought about those things.
Yeah, and so definitely, I hear that we've already had a Dodge Bomb tournament, which I know the community loves doing things like that. Like, we get a new game mode, let's just start a tournament right away. If you want to be good in that tournament, take Physic's advice, go into Twilight Grove and start training away and catching bombs, and it's never going to hurt you. That sort of stuff really does help in competitive play, because bombs and mines are something that come out quite a lot and make a huge difference.
Not to mention, if you are playing in a tournament on stream, there is nothing that you can do that is more hype than catching a bomb and throwing it back at your opponent.
That's true. Requires so much timing.
So after that, we have KO effects. KO effects is something that has technically been in the game for a very long time, because there's the Ragnarok KO effect that is included in the collector's edition when you buy it, which is like the big red flames that come out when your opponent dies, that you may or may not have noticed some players have. But that's the only KO effect we've had until now, when we're finally introducing KO effects that you can buy from the store. First one is the Party Time KO effect, which is exactly what it sounds like, lovely little birthday sprinkles, which I think is always fun for a game where you're plummeting your opponent down into the bottom of a map and suddenly, hey, party! But it's fun to see. I can't wait to see more KO effects. Those are really cool. And, go grab them in the store if you want some.
Yeah, and that costs, I think, 200 Mammoth coins, which is pretty expensive. I would have loved to see them keep the price a little bit lower than that. I think most people were expecting it to be more in the 80 to 100 range. But that said, this is the first of its kind. It is the first KO effect that you can purchase without spending $100 on the collector's edition. So maybe this one's going to start out a little more expensive. It'll drop in price. Maybe future ones won't start out quite as high. But honestly, I'm really excited about this, not just because it's a new KO effect, but I feel like it's really a sign that they're working very hard to go towards full release. Because so far they've really been focusing on new legends, new skins. Now they're starting to expand into other KO effects, which we haven't seen before. And that just tells me, hey, we're really trying to push our game to the next level, and hopefully they'll be announcing details about full release soon.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. Just seeing people just get knocked out, like with the standard explosions, like But then in the future, it's gonna have a bunch of cool effects, like maybe fire, ice. I don't know. It's gonna be awesome to see that in like competitive streams and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that moves us on to the community news. Not a whole ton going on with the community right now, but there are a few things. First of all, we've had these on Reddit. We've had some sort of GIF battles going on between some different crews. There are the lads who we've known for a long time as pulling off these amazing 2v2 or 3v1 combos that are absolutely insane. But just recently, a new clan has showed up called the Bads, obviously paying homage to the lads. I can't really say for sure that one is any better than the other because they're both pulling off absolutely amazing stuff, but both of them are very popular, and the community has really announced that the winner is that we need more cool GIFs. We have had a few other people, individuals, groups showing up. I think there was at least one GIF posted by someone labeled The Mates. I couldn't find it earlier, but I know it happened. So hopefully we'll just be seeing more cool stuff soon.
I think it's super exciting that the community is sort of like battling it out. Obviously, this isn't any sort of serious rivalry. It's all very friendly, but I think it's super cool. We talked about 2v2 in the last podcast and how like seeing crazy awesome 2v2 combos is way better than just neutral light, neutral light, neutral light, neutral light. And if people start like adopting these, that'd be like really cool.
Yeah,
I
that'd be
definitely
insane.
think it would be crazy. It would definitely take a lot more practice on the part of the 2v2 teams, and I would love to see it, but I think if we all just kind of face the facts, it's probably not going to really catch on.
Yeah, neutral light's way easier and just as rewarding, so there's no reason to do.
Alright, so in other community news, there was actually a new fan site developed that has been put into full release. It's still a little bit under construction, but this fan site is made by community member Chewy QWERTY, and it's called Brawlspot. It looks absolutely amazing. I don't think I've ever actually seen a fan site for any game or pretty much anything that looks this damn good. It's supposed to be just kind of everything, a place to post fan art, community discussion, tournament news. I know that he's getting integration with challenge brackets, so that you can really just have all the information in one place. It's got strings, it's got combos for all the weapons and legends. It's absolutely amazing. So, like I said, it's still a little bit under construction, but it is fully released. It's up for the public. You can sign up for an account. You can post fan art. You can post in the forums. And we're really hoping for great things to come from the website.
Yeah, I think it's a really good idea because right now we just kind of have Reddit where people can post content, but then it gets washed away by more content. And so this is a site where, there's a good thing happening on Reddit. You just put it on there and then people can check back in the future and look at it, and it'd be awesome.
I know Chewy was talking to me a while ago. He said he thought that his site may end up being a Reddit killer. And I'm not necessarily sure about that, but I know that things like Smashboards are very popular in the Super Smash Bros. Community, so I'm hoping that his site can turn into a real information hub that people can use. The last thing in community news, we've had this new clan pop up called the Soap Clan. I don't know what SOAP stands for, but it's made by the community member Yama, and he's trying to incentivize doing well in tournaments. So normally in tournaments, the top 3 will get some kind of prize, whether it's community colors or a cash prize or an invite to another tournament. He's trying to create a system where doing well in any tournament is really incentivized, and it's kind of like what Foda did with the Boo Clan. If you place in the top 10, you get some amount of money. Top 5, you get some amount of money that's a little higher. And if you win, you get another amount of money that's a little higher. I forget what the exact dollar amounts are. But basically, the idea is that if you place well in a tournament, you'll get a bit of money, no matter what the prize is. And the better you do, the more money you get. if you're interested, there are a few spots left in the clan, and we're hoping to see maybe more clans pop up like this in the future, because it kind of gives a chance for players that maybe don't have sponsorships or don't know how to get sponsorships, a chance to kind of have a little bit of a sponsorship if they're good enough. So we're hoping that we can see some more of this in the future.
Yeah,
And hear
Okay.
things from the Soap clan.
So
I think
I
it's pretty
opened up
great.
the Reddit post that he got, and so reaching top 10 will grant you $2, reaching top 5 will grant $4, and getting first place would give you $6. So it's a lot of money for the top 10 seats.
Yeah, and I think maybe relative to actual prize amounts for tournaments, it's not that much, but it's a great first step. I know a lot of the community members who were sort of commenting on that post were like, this is a great step towards helping build a more serious competitive community, and hopefully we can maybe see that with other clans who are sort of saying, hey, join our clan, and if you do well, we'll pay you, which is a lot in the same vein of how actual sponsorships work. So both on the sponsorship side of things and on the clan building side of things, I think this is a good step for the community.
I agree, though personally I would love to see a little bit of a higher dollar amount. I'm not all that motivated by, $2 to $6. But if it was maybe like 5, 10, 15, I think it may be a much more, I guess, incentivized thing.
Yeah,
That's
but the thing
definitely more
is, like,
significant.
the way he worded it seems like you can just join any tournament and do well and get the prize money, because in like tournaments with big payouts, there's usually just invitationals and a couple of like qualifiers for it. So still, it's like a lot of work for those. But for these, you can just enter one and do well and get some money.
Very true.
So he can't have like $50 for first place every single tourney. That would be just so much.
Yeah, that does make sense.
All right, I think we're ready to move on to tournament news, Berthen.
Yeah. So for tournament news, we are having a lot of international tournaments lately. On top of Gravy Cancel building a weekly EU scene, there's a new one called Seafood Saturday, and it's for Southeast Asian server tournament, which I don't think we've seen a lot of at all. So, so for that one, we had first place is Luxury. Second place,
that's Zexal, not Zaloxury.
Oh, my bad. I thought that was just
close.
Yeah, so Sexel. And second place, Who's Less. Third place, Aquarian Nemesis. Names I've pretty much never heard of before, but that's because they're C in regional tournaments. And relatively unknown names now, but we hope to see some awesome play from these guys in the future, and hopefully coming to Worlds, maybe.
Yeah, I know that Tiger is, I'm sure, going to try to come to Worlds if he can find a sponsorship or if he can make it, because I'm sure that would be quite a trek, but I'm sure he'd love to try. He's the #1 player in Southeast Asia, and I'm actually pretty good friends with one of the Southeast Asian players who's actually an American player who's currently in Korea, and he tells me that there is some real talent there. He's a top player in NA, but he goes over to the Southeast Asian servers, and there are a few people who give him quite a bit of trouble. So I'm definitely hoping that we can see maybe some of those topmost C players like Tiger play in these tournaments so that we can really see what they've got, and also hopefully come to Worlds.
Yeah, you mentioned Tiger. He was casting this tournament, and
was he?
Okay.
Why did he not play?
I'm sure. I think Tiger recognizes sort of his position as easily one of the top SEA players, and I think he's trying to capitalize on that and be like, I want to head the community for SEA, and I think that's great because SEA certainly deserves a spot in the community. Especially since they've sort of been neglected for being on the other side of the world. And I think the more we can get out of that, and hopefully in the future with Worlds.
And then for us, there's Barbie Brawl, which is an interesting name. And it's an Australian server-focused tournament. There's some overlaps with C because they're pretty close. So the first place is Aranist. Second place, Kyler Alice. Third place, right. Again, the more international folks we get, the more merrier. And yeah, just lots of new names that I've never seen before.
Hopefully, like, these names will start to repeat enough that we'll be like, hey, there's that guy again.
Yeah.
Top player in SCA. Maybe he'll come to Worlds.
Yeah, next week we see, Ernest, wow, winning twice in a row, or maybe placing top 3 twice in a row, and they make a name for themselves because of these.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then there's the standard gravy cancel on May 15th. The first place winner, LDZ, second place, Stevenator, and third place, Remy, names that we've seen a lot in top 3. And we have to talk about a certain match between Wilson and Stevenator.
And so if you're watching on video, it's playing down right now.
Yeah? Oh, okay. So
I wanna go ahead and hop into this.
okay.
So there's a lot of hate in general about this so-called parry playstyle, and this match is a pretty great example of what exactly that is, where Stevenator is sort of hanging on the ledge, waiting for Wilson to approach, and Wilson's on the map, waiting for Steve to come back up, and neither player is doing anything until all the way at the very end, where they finally end up at sudden death. People are many times inclined to sort of blame the player, and of course, there's an argument to be said that, hey, these players are making the game less entertaining, right? But when there's money on the line, and your goal is to win the tournament, you do whatever you can to win the tournament. And I think at the end of the day, this comes down to BMG and what they need to do to improve the game to be a better spectator sport, or make it more aggressive or something like that. Because, I know some people enjoy watching a game like this, where both players are taking small jabs at each other, but from what we've seen with Blue Mammoth Games, their goal is to make the game more exciting. And as we get closer to the Worlds, I think that has to be their top priority. Because if at Worlds, this is what we see, a game where two players aren't actually fighting each other, that's not going to reflect well, I think, on the game as a whole.
I completely agree with you. And in my opinion, you're completely right. I think it does come down to the players doing whatever they have to win. I'm really hoping that if BMG does make Worlds a 1v1 tournament, that they have some kind of plan in place to kind of try to negate this, whatever it is. And I know that I've talked to some people, including you, Creed, about kind of this sort of thing, which really isn't even a parry playstyle, but it's just full-on running away, being unwilling to edgeguard and being unwilling to come onto the ledge. And everything that I've thought of that, like, maybe this could help, maybe this would make things better. Of course, it would help me because I try to play as aggressively as I can, but at the same time, you pointed out that some of the things I was saying, well, that would just make people even less inclined to try to edgeguard. That would just help the defensive
the one
player.
example you were using was basically that you put a limit on how many times you can touch the side of the stage and get your jumps back. And I think the example you said was 3. After touching the ledge on the 3rd time, you don't get your jumps back that time. And so that puts a pressure on, hey, I need to get back on stage and actually fight. But on the reverse, it also makes it so that people don't want to edge guard, because if they go down to edge guard, suddenly they're in this position where if they try too hard, they won't get their jumps back and they'll die too. So there's always these flip sides. I'm certainly not saying it's going to be easy, because it's not. But I think BMG has to recognize that this is the problem they face, and this is what they have to do to make Worlds a entertaining worldwide tournament.
I completely agree.
And I super agree on the part where it's not the player's fault, because I think it's really good that the players are actually doing this right now, because if they don't show these problems right now, then when it comes to Worlds, we'll see it because it's good or something like that. And then it's too late then. It's gonna be like a crap show when that happens. So like, it's better for them to just abuse all of those things right now that people don't like seeing, so BMG can see that and actually fix it right now.
Certainly. Well, I think either way, BMG has that responsibility, and I think they're going to do good in trying to fix that. But that wraps up the news for this week. I think it's time that we introduce our guest. Exo, are you there? Can you hear us?
Yes, I am here.
Hi,
Thank you for having me.
XL.
All right,
Alright,
Exo. So why don't you go ahead and take some time, introduce yourself. Where are you from? How old are you? What should we know about you?
Yeah, I'm EXO, as many of you know, one of the top players of Brawlhalla, and I live in Norway currently. I've lived there all my life. I'm actually from the Middle East, like from origin, and yeah, I'm 17 years old, 18 next week, Sunday, 29th of May.
Ooh,
Remember that?
next week.
Happy early birthday.
Thank you.
Alright, so how and when did you discover Brawlhalla, XL?
That's a hard one. I discovered it because, well, like 4 years ago, I watched a documentary about Smash. All right, I'm a Smash kid, right? And after that documentary, I was like, damn, I really wanted to be a part of this, but I couldn't. So I searched up online. I'm like, maybe there's a game, right? And then suddenly I see this game in closed beta. I was like, wow, okay, this looks okay. I boot it up. It's free. I get a key. Start playing the game, and yeah, that's how I discovered Brawlhalla. And
Wait, what?
ever
4
since-
years ago?
4 years ago, I saw a game called Smash. I saw a documentary, the Smash Bros. Documentary, and then 13 months ago, I started playing Brawlhalla. That's when I discovered Brawlhalla.
Okay.
That's the answer.
That's really cool. So maybe not from the very beginning, but for a long time, you've been kind of regarded as one of the best players, if not the best player in the entire scene. Talk a little bit about your journey getting to number one, who you think maybe your biggest challenges are. Do you think you're still the best?
Okay. Ooh, that's also that's a funny one. Do I think I'm the best? That's subjective until the day someone can actually play on land. But do I think I'm one of the best? By far, I'll put it down here. I don't care what anyone else says. If you have something to say against it, let's pull a Pugsy money match me. But how I got here, the way I got here was, as I said, I started 13 months ago. I started on April 4th. When I first started, first week, I just started played a lot of ranked. I started adding top players like Taibo, for example, and I was like, yo, let me in. I'm good. I'll be good in the future. Just, let's practice, blah, blah. And from there on, I think I just played 12 hours a day, maybe 14, 15 hours, something like that a day, until May. So after playing for 3 weeks, played in a tournament called ESL, first ESL we ever had. And I played against Scorian, and Scorian was basically one of the best, if not the best at the time, with players like Misfit, Kreuzberg. I beat a lot of players at the tournament, and this was also my first tournament, and I got second place. But I was so salty about that match because of the fact that I truly believed that I deserved that win, because back then I wasn't that strong, but the match lasted 6 minutes, alright, first of all, and I lost because Scorian literally did 41 spear series in one single match. Like the first match on Twilight Grove, there was 41 spear series, alright? And back then it was a bit different. We had a lot of space in game, and people say the game is bad now, alright? But you never played back then. Like, back then it was so hard. You couldn't even play aggressive. I don't even know why we played aggressive. You must have been dumb. Because you could have, because you could have just done the most defensive stuff and you'd win free. Like, even if you were a god, you couldn't beat people. Now, if you're a god aggressively, then yeah, sometimes you can do stuff. You can make work because of fast falls and all that. Yeah. And as I said, I just played tournaments, continued on, and eventually got to where I am now.
Yeah, I remember those days of basically, I think there was a lot more mind games back then of sort of how do I approach, and people would think, they'd sit there and be like, which angle do I take? And they take a few seconds to think about that. Now it's like, you got to come up with that on the fly, and I think that's a good addition that we've sort of gotten.
Yeah.
Definitely agree.
Okay, so as one of the top players in Europe, what do you want to accomplish in the EU scene? How do you want the EU scene to grow?
How I want it to grow? I'm not sure what you want me to answer with that.
I think what Berthen's trying to say is like, I mean, you're sort of a figurehead as being an EU player who has come into NA and beaten NA top players. Like, do you want to see the EU scene grow more? from what it currently is. You know, we've gotten a couple tournaments here and there. Gravy Cancel's finally adding their own EU scene. But, like, do you think that you as an individual can help bolster the European side of Brawlhalla?
I probably could do stuff, but outside of just the typical, you know, shouting out EU, trying to get EU hype, show that EU players are very strong because, I mean, we got the 2 best players in the world here. So,
Ooh, shots.
outside of that, I really would like the EU scene to grow so I can stop being on US because I am actually tired of playing on US. I've played on the US for almost my entire Brawlhalla career, and it does get tiring after a while. You start noticing that, oh man, maybe I did lose because of ping. Maybe I didn't. Like, you always have that in the back of your head, but you're the one that chooses to play on this service, so you can't really use this as an excuse ever. But you just, when you go to sleep later, you're like, man, that sucked. But outside of that, I really hope the EU scene grows. I really enjoy that there's tournaments now. Even though there's not tournaments with money, that's completely fine. As long as we start the scene somewhere. I mean, US had to start somewhere, right? So
Yeah.
that's what I see for now. But me being able to do much, I don't know. Outside of maybe streaming or something, trying to get more VEU viewer numbers, I'm not sure.
So you just mentioned EU has the 2 best players in the game. I'm gonna take a shot in the dark and just assume that you meant yourself and Dobrein. So that's a pretty bold statement, especially, you know, NA's been having some new players coming into the scene. You know, Pugsy's been playing out of his mind lately. LDZ has been playing amazing. There are other players up and coming, some that we know very little about, like Array. Given all of these new players and the fact that you'll be on LAN against some of these players at Worlds, how are you feeling about that promise you made a while back, that if you don't win Worlds, you're gonna shave your eyebrows?
So it's pretty funny actually. When it comes to the promise, I don't like if it's like Worlds is in 3 months, game doesn't change. I'm not really that afraid because there's not that much difference. Only difference is that a single player managed to figure out how to actually consistently beat me, and that's Dobrein. Outside of that, not a single player has a better win record against me, or even coming close to it. A lot of people tend to forget that, sure, I do drop tournaments, and it has happened. But as I said, with the ping, and because of the fact that these tournaments that I drop, they don't happen that often. I actually have, as far as I know, if player skill or who the best is in Brawlhalla is because of how many tournaments you won, then I probably have the longest running streak of how many tournaments I've won with money. I have basically, I think I have over 25 tournaments now that have all had money in them, and I've won all of them.
Oh.
And I've gotten second place at tournaments that matter 3 times so far in my entire career. One was early on where I didn't even get close to top 8, and that was it was a 2v2 tournament. One was in Gravy Cancel / Ren tournament. I think it was Gravy Cancel, not sure. And then the third one was obviously BCS that I got 3rd place in. So I've always had either 1st place or 2nd place no matter what outside of those tournaments. So yeah.
Really
but when
quick.
it comes to let me just answer the question. When it comes to the promise though, if it does happen that I do lose at Worlds, if it happens, me keeping the promise 100% depends on the social life at the moment, alright? Because, you know, can't be going to school without eyebrows. But if I don't back it up, alright, if I push out of the promise, I'll definitely make it up in the best way I possibly can in doing something else. So yeah.
Really, really quick, I do want to just, I think I heard you say, did you say that Dobrein has figured out how to consistently beat you, or has he not?
No, he has.
He has. All right. So that's definitely something for you to worry about, I guess, with your eyebrows on the line.
Oh, yes, the Russian is very scary.
It's up to you. It's up to you. You got to take
off. Dobrein.
Take off X's eyebrows. All right. And finally, I'm going to ask you sort of the standard array of questions we ask the top players. So first of all, what games do you like to play in your free time besides Brawlhalla? You mentioned Smash earlier. Any other genres?
Actually, fun fact, I don't really play games for fun. Bit weird to say, but I really don't. If it's not a game where I think I'll be able to make something out of it, I doubt I'll play it. I used to play League of Legends a lot, but outside of that, I don't really play games. Maybe once in a blue moon, I'll play a random game just for fun aspects like Rocket League, CS:GO, Overwatch, something like that. But other than that, I don't really play other games at all.
So certainly nothing consistent.
Not consistent at all. Like
Okay.
maybe once a week at max.
All right. So if you weren't dedicating yourself to becoming a top player in Brawlhalla, what other hobbies or careers might you be pursuing, or what hobbies might you have now?
If it weren't for trying to become a competitive esports player, my goal is to become an entertainer / esports player in general. So it's not just Brawlhalla, to say. But if it weren't for that, I'd probably go into dancing or acting. That's the hobbies I do right now. I dance, I act, I like entertaining. That's it.
It's pretty sweet. Maybe one day we'll see that.
Oh yes.
That can be a way you make up if you don't shave your eyebrows. You have to give a dance performance on stream.
But I'll
like
do that
that.
for free. I'll do that for free anyways.
It's gotta be something he doesn't want to do.
It's gotta-
That's what
yeah,
we
it's
really
gotta-
need.
All right.
Where does your in-game name come from? EXO.
Oh god. Okay, fun fact. I came into Brawlhalla as Sword God.
Okay.
It was a joke. It was just like a persona. As I said, I used to act. I was really into acting, blah blah, and I just like went into the roleplay form of being Sword God. And I was just speaking in the most elegant ways. And there's actually a Reddit thread of me like responding to people about like different, like they were asking legitimate questions about Brawlhalla, like should I use controller or keyboard? And I was going off, like way off with the roleplay, like your tool does not depend on who you are or whatever. It was some bullshit, right? It was great. But I want to change name when I got famous. I mean, when I got better. And the first name that happened was Scroyan came to me and was like, "Yo, Exodramus." And I was like, huh? He was like, "Yeah, Exodramus." I'm like, okay, sure. I went with that name. Then I realized, dude, the name sounds like a syndrome, alright? So, like, no one could even say the name. So I was like, you know what? I like the name Exo. Exo means outer. So, I was just like, yo, Exo. That's
Pretty
it.
sweet.
Shorten it. I'm
And
reverting
finally-
a lot back to my other name now, though, Daiku. So
Sword God.
that's my real life name.
So, finally, who is your favorite legend in the game? Out of everything combined, including lore and stats and weapons and who you like to play or who's good, who's your favorite legend in the game?
Ooh, okay. A lot of people ask me this, and they always get shocked at the answer. I don't really believe I have a favorite legend. I don't like any of the Legend of Brawlhalla. Everyone thinks that because I played Bovar for so long, and I started playing Bovar back 13 months ago, and I still play him, my favorite legend is Bovar, but it's not. I just picked him because it was the closest legend to what I want to play. But when it comes to a favorite, I still haven't found my favorite in Brawlhalla. And I hope the day comes where I figure out that, oh, this is the legend that I like.
Maybe
So
be the Golem.
even if we said you have to pick someone right now,
With your
Okay.
eyebrows on the line.
if I have to pick right now, then it would have to be Bolvar.
okay. But you are hoping for someone better in the future.
Correct.
All right, EXO, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us. We hope to
Thank you.
see some more great things from you in the future.
And yeah, thanks for having me.
See ya.
Later, EXO.
See ya. All right, with that, we move on to the balance and meta discussion section of the podcast. This is a week after a major balance patch change, and so we're going to be mostly focusing on what sort of changes went into that balance patch and what that might mean for the current meta. So, this particular patch, not enormous. First thing we're going to talk about is lands, because I think that got the most sort of changes in general. What they listed was that they're toning down the air game while increasing the ground game. What this meant for the ground game was that using chase dodge into ground moves like neutral light and side light have longer hitboxes, and so it catches opponents earlier on or easier. And in the air, basically a lot of sort of cooldown and recovery changes, like making those a little bit longer. What do you guys think? I mean, this didn't seem like a nerf or buff. It was fairly neutral. It was, hey, shifting from air to ground. Is that something we want?
I definitely think so. I think that the Lance's real meat was always its air game ever since, even not the way back Lance that I never got to see, but the Lance before it got a lot of changes when it had really silly side air and down air strings that you could do, you can still do those if your opponent dodges incorrectly, or at least maybe you could before this patch. And I'm thinking that maybe those were a little bit too good, and toning down the air game was probably a little bit necessary. Neutral air was always just absolutely crazy as far as spacing went, and everything else was pretty solid. I definitely like to see more of the Lance ground game, and I think that this is a good step in the right direction.
Yeah, I agree. I don't really have much opinions on Lance because I don't ever play Lance, but I think it's really good in the air in general. So I think they're going the right direction. But I don't really know.
Yeah, certainly. There's an argument to be made that maybe Lance ground game it's kind of weird because of how large the Lance is, right? And what I see a lot from Lance, people sort of underestimate Lance because its actual moves aren't that great compared to other weapons, but it's also a massive weapon. And the best Lance players, I see a lot of throwing the Lance, catching your opponent in any manner of ways because of how big it is. It's much easier to catch them, and then following up with unarmed, picking the Lance back up, rinse and repeat. And so, on the ground, a lot of what I see is because players like to approach from above, you'll throw the weapon up, and hey, maybe they'll run into it and I can get an unarmed attack after that. Maybe they won't, and I'll just catch the Lance and do something else, right?
Yeah.
So it's this weird balance that I think they have to figure out, and Lance getting changes is nice, but I'm not sure it benefits one way or the other.
I don't think it was, like you said, it wasn't really a nerf or a buff. I think it was definitely a side grade. I don't think the changes are so significant that we're going to see a huge drop-off in Lance players. I think players who like the Lance will still be able to use the Lance very, very effectively. I'm just hoping that maybe it's a little bit more fun and or interactive to play against.
Okay, so next, Spear was changed a little bit. We got a decrease in Nair damage, and we got an increase in downlight recovery. And that's it. So, Spear is, I want to say, obviously everyone has their own opinions, but from what I've been hearing from top players, Spear is arguably the strongest current weapon. And they made 2 small changes. Is this enough?
I don't think it's enough at all, to be honest, because the downlight is still super strong, and that was like probably the biggest complaint. And I didn't really hear complaints about Nair that much, and then they just decreased it, and it wasn't even used that much. I think it just covered defensively sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it really did anything that much. Still super good.
I completely agree. I don't think this was nearly enough. I think that the downlight is still easily one of the best moves in the game. It suffers from a lot of the same issues that Qatar downlight used to have, meaning that there's very little reason to not use it. It covers a lot of options. It can cover anti-air. It gets you out of the way, and it really even still doesn't have all that much recovery time on it. It's still very easy to turn around in side air. It's still easy to jump out or dodge out right after it. I would really love to see them try to tone down the availability of big strings, such as doing, something like side air, true combo into neutral light, chase dodge to a very doable string, side light into down light into some ungodly air combo. Like
the one that comes to mind personally is neutral light, chase dodge, side light, down light. Same.
Yeah, exactly. Just things like that, and you can go into neutral light true combo, like I said, from side air. There are ways to set it up very easily, and the Spear does have some pretty big hitboxes. I think it needs more. I definitely think it needs more. I think that you should still be able to do those strings and those combos, but maybe you shouldn't be able to do them quite so easily. Maybe there should be a little bit more time to dodge out. I do like the decrease in Nair damage. Just, I think Nair may be a little bit overused for spacing, and it's also a very, very good setup to go into recovery to kill. But as much as I like the decrease in Nair damage, I don't think it was really all that harsh, and I don't think that's really going to make the difference of whether or not Spear is overpowered.
Yeah, so the thing about Spear is that before this patch, right, I thought it was OP, so I don't use Spears. Pretty much I only play Bodvar, so, and then I decided to stop playing Bodvar and just played Spear Legends instead. And then on the first one, I played Ada, and in one day I got her to Legend. I'm like, man, I'm just gonna keep doing this. Just
Got
gonna
her
keep playing your
to
character.
Diamond, do you mean?
Yeah, to Diamond.
Okay.
To 2000 elo, right? And then the next day I played Hattori, and then got her to Diamond as well in like one day, and she was only Silver. And then that was on Tuesday. So then the Wednesday came, and that was the nerf, right? I still I picked another Spear Legend, got them to Diamond pretty easily. I don't even play Spear, right? And then, I got 4 Spear Legends to Diamond now, before and after. So it's like, it made no change at all to me. Even though I don't play Spear, I just play in and just destroy.
Yeah, and that argument is definitely there to be made. Neutralite is another weapon or another attack that people complain a lot about, just that it has a lot of continuous active frames, and it extends pretty far beyond you, and the recovery time after Neutralite is, it feels non-existent. And so I think Spear does need more drastic action, but as a whole, this entire patch was pretty small. There were very small changes to Spear, which was probably one of the biggest weapons. Lance got the most changes, and it wasn't even a nerf or a buff. It was just very much neutral changing. And all the other weapons were very small tweaks. And we just talked about how boring playstyles exist. And maybe not quite the same vein of what was going on with Wilson versus Steve. I think that was more of an issue of the fact that Steve was allowed to sit on the ledge and do nothing. That was just the two players not wanting to approach each other. But even in games where players are trying to approach each other, there was a lot of this quote-unquote parry playstyle where, you abuse dodge a lot, you sort of throw out attacks, but you don't really approach the other player, and that is the current most efficient way to play. And again, like for Worlds, that's kind of a problem, and I think BMG needs to take more drastic action. Like, do you guys agree? Should these patches be a little more aggressive?
Yeah,
So-
I really do think so.
Go ahead.
No, I just want to say yes.
All right. My opinion is that as far as weapon balance and stuff, yes, more drastic action needs to be taken. That said, I don't think that's going to fix the boring playstyles. I don't think anything that they do specifically with the weapons is going to fix the boring playstyles, because you also shouldn't nerf the ability to parry into the ground. You should be able to do it. Maybe it should be a little more punishable. It should be a little less rewarding. Maybe offensive play should be a little more rewarding. But overall, changing weapons and their attacks, I don't think is going to do anything to fix that at all. I think that's a matter of game mechanics like spot dodge, like wall clinging and getting your jumps back, and all that sort of stuff, where they really need to, hopefully they are experimenting with different ways they can do things to kind of limit what players can do. And especially with all of these very small changes coming out, I'm kind of expecting something big to happen pretty soon.
So you think that BMG has something in the pipeline right now?
I think that they either have something in the pipeline, or they're not doing as many weapon tweaks because they have, 3 different people who are all programming different things to try to maybe fix this issue, and they're all trying different stuff every single day, okay, will this work? Okay, no, that doesn't work. What if we did this? Okay, no, that doesn't work very well. I'm really hoping that they have some good ideas in the pipeline for eliminating or at least toning down these hyper defensive and more boring play styles.
Because it certainly needs to happen soon. We cannot get a change 1 month or even 2 months before Worlds, because people do not have enough time to adjust by then. It has to be soon, and it has to be big, basically. There is a Reddit post that I'm going to go and display that basically talks about the problem that exists in Brawlhalla versus other fighter games, and that's that Brawlhalla uses dodges instead of blocks. It doesn't have a shield like Super Smash Brothers, and I think Street Fighter 5 also has this sort of blocking mechanism, and Brawlhalla shies away from that. I assume it was sort of a personal choice by the developers, maybe to move Brawlhalla away from the similarities to other fighting games, but they do have to figure out a way to make it to basically make it so that it's still, a fun game to watch, because the current pattern right now is sort of, predict, dodge, attack, and then rinse and repeat, where you sort of go, hey, the player will approach, I'll do the dodge, and then I'll attack. Because other fighter games have mechanisms where if the opponent blocks, there's a way to get them out of that. You grab them in Super Smash Brothers. I'm not as familiar with other fighting games, but they have other mechanics similar to that. And so...
That's also how it works in Mortal Kombat, Soul Calibur. I'm pretty sure in Street Fighter also.
And so Brawlhalla doesn't have that because the dodge only lasts a certain amount of time. But it's enough for someone to dodge out of an attack, which of course is the point. But when you get to this point where you can dodge away and not get punished for using the dodge, and instead do the reverse, where you dodge and then punish your opponent for even trying to attack, I think that's where the problem lies. Again, the issue is a lot more complicated than simply, let's just remove dodge, or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, BMG has a lot of work to do. But it's important to recognize these problems and say, hey, this is what Blue Mammoth Games is needing to, or already trying to do. Of course, we can't all get in their heads. Maybe they've been working on this, like you said, Physek, on and off for quite a while. Different developers working on different things. But it's always worth sort of mentioning that, hey, these are the current problems. Hopefully we can get those fixed by the time that Worlds comes around, and I think it's good that we sort of shout that out to BMG and say, hey, this is what we want.
And going back to that Reddit post real quick, I just wanted to, if I remember correctly, one of the big problems that it pointed out in the Reddit post is that a lot of the time the dodge is meant to be the defensive option. It's meant to be what you do to escape an attack and hopefully get yourself into a position to punish. But one of the big problems is that when you're playing offensively, a lot of the time you have to dodge in to make an attack, because otherwise your opponent can just sit there, they can just neutral light, they can just wait for you to come near them and just poke you before your attack can get out, because if they're playing more defensively, they can read you or dodge and read you using that defensive option. And if you use your defensive option as an offensive approach, as an offensive option, you're limiting your ability to do anything defensive after you've made or missed your attack, which can end up being a problem because if someone does try to parry your move, you have no way to escape if you've already burned your dodge, which a lot of the time you need to do just to get in close. So, like I said, if I remember correctly, that's a big problem that it kind of highlighted, noting that, in other games, the defensive option isn't the approach option, it isn't the offensive option. So I'm hoping that BMG can take this feedback that we're giving them, that Reddit is giving them, that they're just hearing from the players, and hopefully they do have things in the works to help combat these playstyles.
Berthen, I don't know if you want to sort of add anything on top of that from the experience you've been playing. I know that as far as draft action goes, that sort of spear that you've been picked up in recent times and gotten all these players to diamond with, like, do you think that's something that shouldn't be happening?
Yeah, it definitely shouldn't be. And about the dodges, I think see, on my stream, I often say you should just dodge backward, and dodging forward is too risky. And it's the big problem. It's dodging backwards, you're okay 90% of the time, and dodging forward, you take that 30 to 50% risk of hitting them, or usually more than half the time get punished for dodging forward. It's this move that can approach and escape. It's just always better to escape, and that just makes it so that it's always leaning towards escape rather than aggress.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's a good discussion for this week. We expect more from BMG in the future. Next week, we will not be having a podcast because Combo Breaker will be going on. I will be attending that, which would make it a little bit difficult to record a podcast. But hopefully the week after, we'll have a lot to talk about as far as Combo Breaker goes. I know we're very excited about that coming up. And, we hope to see maybe lots of stuff going on. You can actually watch Combo Breaker on twitch.tv/BG Bootcamp on Saturday. The exact time will be in the description. That will be very exciting. And besides that, I'd like to thank Berthen and Physek for being my co-host this week. EXO for coming on as the special guest. And we will see you next time. Bye for now.
Bye.
Later, everybody.